Coming up on the Deco Show, we talk to Tommy Vann, owner of TerrificT, plus give you a new preview of Deco Network version 8. It's pretty cool. All that and more coming up on the Deco Show. The Deco Show is brought to you by Deco Network, business software for printers and embroiderers. To find out more, visit deconetwork.com. Welcome to the Deco Show, episode 11, recorded June 1st, 2017. I'm Brendan Presner, Product Marketing Manager and Evangelist at Deco Network. And as always, I'm joined by our team, Mr. Mitek Vlossen, General Manager of Deco Network America. How you doing, Mitek?
Doing just fine. Since the bridge has been rebuilt already on interstate,
That's right.
we're good. Yeah. I don't know if you guys know about it, but they the guys who were supposed to rebuild this bridge, they've got a bonus $2 million. They're gonna be done by mid-June, and they are.
Wow.
Oh,
There you go.
good deal.
So now it's only a 2-hour drive to the airport instead of 5. So that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Good old 85.
Exactly.
And of course, we have the man in blue, Mr. Eric Campbell. That's my best Johnny Cash voice. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right. Glad to be here.
And today we have a special guest. You've probably seen him on the forums and around on the web. It's Mr. Tommy Vann from TerrificT. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing great, Brendan. Thanks.
Thanks. for
I'm the
joining us.
guy in orange.
The guy in what? Sorry, in warm.
Orange.
Orange. Yes. Oh, you've obviously got a. Where do you live, by the way? Where are you located?
Michigan. Rockford, Michigan is just north of Grand Rapids.
Yep. I was going to say, I thought you were down south. I thought maybe you're sporting a bit of a tan, but no, you're in a cold region.
Yeah, I am, but we still go to the beach when it's 60 degrees because that's what we have to do.
Right. And from what I'm
Yeah, we
hearing,
got a
it's a little
big
bit
lake.
in Atlanta. So. All right. Well, a bit of a catch up on kind of what's happening in the world of Deco Network. Certainly, as an existing Deco Network client, you would have received an email in the last, I think, 48 to 24 hours, where we've made Deco Network version 7.5 update button live on your dashboard. So log in and check that out, and you'll be able to update at any point in time. And of course, you get access to all the new features in Deco Network, which you can check out at deconetwork.com/DN75. And getting lots of great feedback. Some of the winning features that people are really loving, of course, is the screen print recoloring and just universal search. And I think, Eric, you're going to touch a little bit on the blogs and other resources in a moment and other tools you can get access on that space. But yeah, really good feedback in terms of what's happening. And of course, any questions, jump on our forum and we'd love to hear your feedback and what you think of DN 7.5. So Eric, if you had a bit of a play of I know you've been busy all over the place and talking to partners and the likes, but kind of what's your favorite side of 7.5 today?
Honestly, having been in the 7.2 world for a while, the entire back end and the way that it's organized, the UI is just better by far. Everything's better in the organization. But universal search, yeah, how can you not like universal search? Not digging for settings or apps or anything, honestly. And even on the support side, since we use it also when we're helping out our partners and our licensees, universal search is the best. So honestly, for me, yeah, I love universal search. That's one of the best things that we have going. And I really want everybody to use it first when you're looking for things. I would like to encourage them to give it a shot.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, one thing we should look at doing is actually bring our blog post in as a part of that as well. So when people are searching for content, it can maybe pull in the blog post content or some of our other content channels, because there's a lot of cool stuff that we're putting on there. And I know you've been busy writing articles, and we'll touch on those in just a moment, I guess.
Absolutely.
All right. And Mitek, what's going on in your side of the world?
Well, we're working together with Eric on a number of things. Everything is doing good. Our team is growing. We're getting stronger, getting more people on board. So everything looks really exciting. Getting ready for your visit in the near future. That'll be interesting to have you here. And not that I was asked for it, but my favorite part of the 7.5 is a template creator. I think
right.
it's a big one. And when you think about a template creator by itself, when you really think about it, template creator is just one option in Deco Network. But you could build your entire business model around this tool itself. It could be a standalone tool that you are offering to the market.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. In fact, it'll be good to get people's input on terms of what sort of content they are creating. And I know actually, you know, Tommy, a big part of what you do in your business is, you know, template editing. I guess you're a bit of a crawl draw guru, from what I understand.
Yeah, I still think it's an awesome program. But you know, I was using that all the way back in the '80s, and I used Illustrator for a long time in probably the first decade of the 2000s, and found my way back to Corel kind of just by necessity. I owned the program, and I was like, just still seems to be pretty simple for me. I like the way it works.
Yeah.
But you're talking about as far as the art templates. Yeah, we don't do as much of that because you know, all this stuff can be a whole lot of work, which is really nice. Why you have, you know, all those templates that you can actually source through the back end. Where in the beginning we had the necessity to do a lot more because that wasn't as available as to new users as, you know, as it is today. So we bought designs and changed them up and did a lot of our own. We don't do quite as much of that these days. So.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I guess it'd probably be good to start off and you know, give us a bit of an elevator pitch on where you've come from, your background, your history, and what landed you into this decoration.
Sure. I'm just going to go at it because it could be a long story. We'll see how this goes. I started in '87, as in 1987.
Wow.
Which sounds like a history lesson nowadays. But so I was going to school for commercial illustration. My plans were to get started in that and then go to the University of Illinois after that, which did not happen. But because I ended up in business. So I was at basically a 2-year school, and then I took 2 more years getting associate degrees for illustrating, and I was going to become a commercial illustrator, which was a different game back then. That was when we used airbrushes, we did marker renderings and all those things, and the computer was just starting. They didn't even teach classes on that yet. While in school, basically one of my childhood friends and I, he was in school in Colorado, basically skiing and failing, and decided to come back to Illinois or Chicagoland. And he was an artist too, and joined the same program. And we were hanging out. And you know, as 18 or 19-year-old, however we were at that time, I guess 20. You know, we stayed up a little later than we do these days, and drank a little more beer than we did these days. And in fact, if you read, actually on my TerrificT, if you were to scroll all the way to the bottom, the story of Mr. Terrific is actually my story. I'm not going to read it here and bore everybody, but if you ever wanted to, that's really our story with the names changed.
Nice.
For instance, Shu McKenzie is really my friend Joe. But the whole idea of drinking beer and wanting to make money to go skiing in Colorado is how it started. So here we are. He's telling me about all his grand stories of skiing with these people going off back terrain and all this, and all these crazy guys he hung out with. And we were skiers, and we used to travel and stuff. But so we wanted to make money, and the idea was to design this T-shirt for the town we lived in, Naperville, Illinois. And at that point in our lives, I don't know what it's so different now. It's grown so much, but that you know, the old joke was that the cops were just out to bust anybody and anything. They had nothing to do. And I totally value cops, don't get me wrong. But you know, we were kids. And so we were going to make a Naper Thrill T-shirt and a kind of a cartoony shirt and market it. We started concepts. And then, of course, I was already reading and learning in school all about how to do full color process, and thought we could do these in full color. And so the next thing was actually to be able to, you know, to pull this stuff off. So we started with buying some stuff at a, you know, craft store, buying some, I'm dropping the name. Is it Ball? I I don't know, you could buy at a craft store, wood frame and some inks. They were all water-based. And my first job was my dad had a charter fishing business on Lake Michigan. And so I drew up some art and put a logo on some hats and a t-shirt. And we made a handmade press to fit, to make the t-shirt slide on, made our own palette. We didn't even know palettes existed. We just made it up ourselves, really. And so we made a palette and did all this. We didn't know what spray tack was. So anyhow, we print gold ink on a navy t-shirt we found through a wholesaler. I think we probably paid too much. And we watched the ink disappear. And so basically then I got a lead for my mom's company had bought t-shirts from a guy in a neighboring town. I went to meet him. And he gave me Impressions magazine. This is like 1987. He gives me Impressions magazine. And he flips and folds pages. He goes, here's a flash dryer. You can use to dry your shirts. And here's where you can buy inks. And he goes, and I need an artist. So he hired me to do, in those days it was like a $25 screen charge. He'd pay the artist $15 to draw it all with Ruby Lith. He'd cut it all out.
Yep.
Wow.
For the listeners who don't know what Ruby Lith or any of that is, just look it up and see how easy you got it. But it was a beautiful art. You learned a really big. There was stuff we did then that I think looks cooler than it does now because we really, when you're good at it, you did some awesome lettering. I have stuff buried in a box somewhere. But anyhow, so from there we he gave me a cup of plasticel ink. Literally gave me a cup of gold ink. Said get that dryer and this will work. And that's how we learned how to double hit and flash and print on a dark shirt. And then I just, here we are, I'm 87, I'm 50 now, so I was 20. And, so we started talking to people in class, referring us. And our first big job in that first year, we started in a little corner of our basement, and over the next 2 or 3 years took over the entire basement. My mom had to sneak down to get to the laundry machine. We had a camera room. We had a press. We ended up buying a dryer. Well, our first job was this 2,000-piece order for a sporting goods store that no longer exists, but was very big at the time. And they got my name through a student, and I went in there. This is actually kind of fun because this doesn't really happen anymore, I don't think. And they had a price sheet from their vendor. Am I going on too long? Is this boring?
Nope. You're going.
No, okay. So anyhow, they're like, well, we need these 2,000 bags, and our normal printer can't do it. And I guess I did have some idea of how to do business then, because the first thing I asked is, well, how much would you pay? Well, the price sheet ended at like 500 pieces, and it was like 50 cents. And I said, yeah, we could do it for 50 cents. So we had this bags with 2 imprints on them, and it was a $10,000 order, 50 cents an imprint. Took that purchase order to the bank. I mean, we didn't have any help. My dad was in business, but he didn't have this kind of experience. We just kind of did it. And so I went to the bank and asked for a loan on the purchase order, bought our first manual press and a dryer, and started bidding park districts and doing all that kind of work to get volume and calling up people. And probably the biggest obstacle I had was at 20, 21 years old, you're young. People, it's hard to gain their trust. But we grew, and by 1991, we rented a space for $7,500, like 4,000 square feet, I think it was. And then it tore a wall. We had to build a wall to separate the space. We did that ourselves, of course. And then in a couple years, we took over the full 8,000 square feet. And then we did what a lot of people do by mistake, is you get equipment happy. And, and by the way, all the way back to the basement, even though we never did that Naper Thrill t-shirt idea that got us the whole idea, and we were going to make money to go skiing. And incidentally, I don't think, and I'm not kidding, the 2 of us did not ski. But we did go to Whistler Mountain in Vancouver, Canada, but that's besides the point. But so we had this this idea to do this process printing. We were doing it all in manual. Back then, you didn't do your own steps. You would go to a person that has a health scanner, and they would do them like they do for T-shirts, same angle. I'm sorry, for paper, same angles and everything. We went through that nightmare, and I don't know. I may have read an early Coudray article or something. Somehow I knew we had to change up the angles, and I did figure that out, and convinced the guy at the separator that to change the angles for me. He thought I was nuts. And we did good process work on a manual, but we knew if we were going to do any volume, we needed an automatic, and so we ended up getting a used automatic and kind of made that our niche. And it's like anything. It's like you show off the Cadillac and you get a whole bunch of orders for Pintos that come with it. I don't know if you remember what a Pinto or a Pacer is, but it's, poor man's cheap car, whatever. So it's not like all we did was process work, but it was something we could keep pushing and say, look what we can do. And those jobs would come, but they trust you because, hey, he can do that. He can do anything kind of thing. Absolutely. And so we were doing mostly direct work at that time. A couple ad specialty guys. We didn't, but it was in those early 90s that we decided to make a big move and we basically stopped selling direct. And we went straight for distributors and started doing shows and networking. And by 97, I don't know, we had like 4 automatics. We should have only had 2 because we did the mistake. And this is advice for anybody out there now. Honestly, if you can find a way to get 10, 12, 14 colors, do it. Because, we'd buy an 8-color, we have a 6-color machine. Can't do everything. You get an 8-color machine, you're still limited. It wasn't until we got 10 and 12 color machines that we could really do process work the way we wanted. You could truly do a 6 or 8 color without it spinning around twice. And, it's just young mistakes. It's penny wise, dollar foolish. It's that extra 10, 20 grand, whatever it was at that time, to get the better press would have paid for itself. And what happens is by the time 97 came around, we got pretty strung out. We were doing good, but it was kind of like we saw the success was about ready to pour in, but we couldn't hold on. And we brought in, we had a customer who proposed merging, and that merger turned into basically a fire sale, and we ended up selling and running it. That said, that lasted to around 2007, which evolved into Target Graphics, and that company's still out there. And I took that company from $500,000 to $3.5 million in just contract work. Wow. And and it's the funny thing is, within 3 months after selling, I remember one of the owners saying, "You guys are making money." And I looked, I said, "I told you we would." But we just literally, that's how precarious business can be, and you got to be very careful because we overextended ourselves. We should have played it more smartly, pushed the equipment we had, gotten rid of the equipment that was limited, maybe, and replace it. And we didn't do those things. And sometimes the things you're all excited about are going to happen just don't. So you really got to push your equipment to the limit, and we didn't. Now we learned from that, but with money in the bank. And the ability to, basically it was mine to run. I ran the show the way I wanted, and we grew that company, all with pretty much promotional product distributors, a few manufacturers. There was no shirts in that. I think we were averaging about, I want to say it was 75 to 82 cents a unit. So that could be orders that are $3 a unit. Some orders are 20 cents a unit, depending, but the median came out to around 89 cents. We were printing roughly, I think it was 4 million pieces, doing about $3.5 million. And then the economy hit. And that's about when I left. And so that was 2009. Another thing you should always do if you're going to write a deal with anybody, don't listen to the other side. Listen to the people who tell you to get an attorney.
Wise words.
Again, I'm really thankful for what happened because we had a great run. I mean, money ran uphill in the 2000s for us. We were doing awesome, had great staff. But when things got more precarious with the economy, I didn't have a contract that was secure. So they were able to bring someone in, family, to move me out. And that's basically what happened. And so what I did was I was going to basically just reform. My first thoughts were that I might go out and, just get equipment and stuff. But, it became obvious really quick that the economy just changed like overnight. And so what I did was I partnered up with good friends around the country. And I basically market, manage, bring in the business, and they handle production. So you could call that like some kind of glorious subcontracting, because it isn't just calling up a place in the book. It's a partnership. And at that time, in the beginning, like 2010, I was paying. Here comes your program. Back before the change from Target, I had envisioned we needed, because free ink or a custom ink had a reputation. I think SGI was starting to promote a free use of an order online website, and I wanted to take Target in that direction. And it was right when I was about thinking about that everything changed. So I called up a buddy of mine. I said, "Oh, this is what I want to do. I want to build an online business," and didn't know where to go, and started. I think I was about 20 grand in writing my own software, and it was. Let's just say it did okay for about 6 months. And then I'm like, this is not going to cut it, because we really got to have online ordering, the whole interface. And that's when I found you guys comparing a bunch of different animals. But I really was intrigued. This is 2010. I mean, Deco was completely different. Brennan, you were there. I know you were there when I first started, but it was, I mean, as you know, there was no hub. There was none of that. But I dug into it, and I did a lot, every way I could, to customize to make so people could actually order contract work and stuff online. And some of the workarounds and hacks I did, are just silly when I think about it now. But that's what you had to do.
Just
innovative is how we call it.
Yeah, that's right. And so I've just been with Deco and watching it evolve, and I feel like I've been, in a lot of ways, I feel like I've been part of that, because I try to keep a lot of feedback going. And so moving to today, basically, Tommy's T-shirt factory is selling to the old customer base I had, a lot of old contacts and new, that sells promotional products, and they buy the complete garment from me. I barely mark it up and then contract work on it, just to be a one-stop shop. Yeah, we already looked at this. We know this website needs an overhaul. I know I'm holding off to see if I'm going to wait for version 8. But anyhow, so I don't do much marketing for this, although I know that if I'm doing business with, let's say I got 50 great distributor customers now, if I really did try to market, it's such an easier access for direct marketing. I need to update that website. And TerrificT, trying to pick up direct work. And we've done okay, but as you know, that is not an easy animal to get people to your website.
Yeah.
And so it really takes a marketing effort. They might find you, but so we're still. I think that's our next experience, is to learn how to really, truly, even though I think we've been trying for 5 or 6 years, how to really drive traffic to that site at a fair dollar and so forth.
So in terms,
in some way,
yeah. Sorry, in terms of where you're focused today, are you still very much focused on B2B, or being online? Are you really looking more for that B2C market?
I would like. Well, first of all, the wholesale work is 75% of what we do, maybe 80. Now, a couple years ago, it was 90, 95%. So we are picking up on the direct work. We keep the two separate. My wife and I might be talked about customers, but they're, it just comes from a different source. You still use the hub. You got your stores. You keep the pricing's different. Obviously, there's a retail price on TerrificT. We have free freight, but the free freight is, as come on, let's face it, that you in theory anyhow, the numbers say you covered your freight.
Yeah.
And we have West Coast printing and Midwest, so we'll ship from where it makes most sense. But no, we want to build both. But I think I'll put more money in a TerrificT because it's a harder nut market to crack. Because with my wholesale base, I know where they are, and most of them know me.
Yeah.
I just don't knock on their door enough, and I'm at this critical point. And I've been at this before, like in the '90s, where I'm pretty maxed out with what my wife and I can do, but we're really reluctant to bring on more help because you got to have a good plan on how you're going to then double and triple your business. We're at probably the hardest hurdle. We're at that hardest hurdle for real growth, because I know once you start hit, that old adage, you hit $1 million.
Yeah.
Things really do start to change at $1 million because you can afford help and you're not wearing every darn hat and so forth. Deco is getting easier and easier to use, where we should be able to make it trainable. But some of the stuff is still like we have to spell out. You still got to document. Here's how you handle these kind of customers. Here's how you handle these. But we're all, and maybe I have a knack for making things more difficult because it's just fun to toy with the software. I don't know. We envision taking both routes, but there'll be more marketing effort towards TerrificT again, because you need to, because consumers just aren't going to find you the same way someone who's looking for a reliable. There's a lot more repeat business with those wholesale customers. Lower margin, but they are your salespeople. They're bringing you business. So, but most of that, we have a handful of those customers will order online. The PO, and you got to key it all in. So my goal with TerrificT is obviously, how do I get more people to order online? Because man, if they really do put the order in, all I got to do is check the art. And it's 10, maybe not 10 times, but it's at least 20 or 1/5 the time to process an order if someone else puts it in. Because most of the stuff that you deal with, even when you key it in for people, is you're chasing down all the loose ends. Well, when they enter it online, they can't not put a ship address in. They can't not put sizes in. I mean, you guys are nodding. I'm preaching to the choir. You get. It's happening today. This week has been a blessing and a curse. All of a sudden, everybody forgot, how they forgot they have big events this week and next week, and didn't know that last week is amazing. But that's always been the same.
Annual event. You got to add that little.
It is getting tighter, no doubt. Over the decades, that is just getting pushed harder and harder. But nonetheless, everything's a loose end. Hey, I need this. Can you get this shipped next week? Well, and then you get art that's not ready, and then you put it all together, and it's like they didn't give you a shipping address. So you got a lot of piecemeal. And what you want to do is, how do you seek out customers who have good POs and are organized? Obviously, if you can get more people to order online. But see, I think it's a different animal. Like when Deco started, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was pretty much geared towards people buying one-offs, buying a design, and it's evolved out of that. But that's a different animal than getting people to buy $300, $500, $1,000 worth of T-shirts online. I would say it takes a lot more trust as well, because someone buys a $25 T-shirt, they're not worried the same as if they bought $1,000 of T-shirts.
Or more importantly, you're not staying back for an extra 2 days reprinting 1,000 T-shirts when something goes wrong. So.
That's right. And you know what? If we did it wrong, we would redo it, and a lot of printers would, but they don't know that. And everybody says they will. And that's where it comes. It's difficult for a small company to brand themselves. I'm never say impossible, but you have to have a very laser targeted branding, because you can't brand the masses. You can't compete with custom ink. And if you think you can, you're going to throw a whole lot of money away. So what we're trying to figure out is, we want to have our websites look good and be right. And TerrificT is taking a while to kind of, we think, get it to have this kind of superhero fun theme. But at the core of it, what we do. We do T-shirts, You can find we have free shipping, blah, blah, blah. Then you got to really target, and I guess you could call it micro branding. Keep putting the right offers in front of the people who've already visited you and let that slowly expand. You can't just go for the masses and hope they show up. And believe me, we've tried. It's a waste of money. And if somebody's wants to prove me wrong, please do. Tom@TerrificT.com. Send me all the answers.
You can go ahead and CC us on that too, by the way. If you suddenly have all the answers, I'll certainly take them too. Been there.
manninblue@DecoNetwork.com. I'm going to make you that email address.
I will take it every day. Branding all day long, everybody.
So today, in essence, the shop is the same. We're using screen printing press. We're making screens the same way. I do work with my team, especially on full color stuff, to follow my spec, because I developed all that spec years ago and refine it. And that's a whole book on how to do full color work. And we do high resolution work. We'll do anywhere from 80 to 120 line screen work. But at the core of it, I try not to worry about that stuff the way I used to, unless someone grabs me and says we need help. And that's not very often anymore. So I'm trying to focus on how to bring in more business through the websites. Right. And to answer your question again, is both of them. TerrificT it's just going to be a different way of marketing both. And obviously I got to update the other website. But so the jury's out on how I'm going to do that.
So in terms of you mentioned about your two segments, and probably B2B and B2C is not really the right term. You probably do pretty much B2B everywhere. It's wholesale versus non-wholesale, return versus non-return client. But how are you encouraging your wholesalers to more self-serve online when they're so used to just sending you an email with a attachment saying, look after that order for me? Because in their mind, that's easy for them. But obviously, if they're going online, as you pointed out, they're not going to make mistakes because the system is almost forcing them to give you what you need. So it's got to be more convenient for them in the long term.
That's a real good question, and I think I have some accurate feedback on that, and some I don't know. Now I'll explain. We in the beginning were pushing to order online and would give an additional discount.
Right.
And we got some activity with that. In other words, buy online and get an extra 5% off. I think we toyed with 10% because 5 didn't sound like enough. But the problem, you can do that more with end users or consumers, as you want to call them. So a business, not a whole. Maybe we should separate it by businesses and resellers. So the resellers got to buy it so that they can resell it, right? So if we're supplying the shirt and the decorating, we really don't have any margin in the shirt. We're going to be working on maybe a 10% margin, okay? 15 on a little super lucky day, but only if we can buy well. So you're working slim. So now if you're going to give them a 10% discount online, what do you have to do? You have to inflate the price.
Yeah.
And so that didn't work. So over the last few years, we have found that, and I can't figure it out. In the beginning, I thought that just doing this, we would find all the young buyers swooning in just to buy online because that's what they do. I'm finding old dudes ordering online. I won't throw out names, but, buddy of mine in California, I've been doing business with he orders online. I sometimes think he does it because he wants me to feel like he gave it an effort. I get, I'll all of a sudden find a new we get signups. People find us, and my marketing for the last year for Tommy's has been abysmal, only because I can only focus on so many things at a time, including beta feedback for Deco, which I love.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. It takes time.
We love too.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, but the point is, people will still find me, word of mouth and so forth, and I'll get an order online, or it'll start with a registration and a quote. And I have every age group, and there's no extra incentive right now to do that. Although I need to sit down and kind of think about how I can really drive that. I really think it's by basically just making the offer. Let's say, I do some emailing to my list, okay? It's not frequent enough because I just don't feel like I have a thorough enough plan. So I do reminders. Hey, I'm here. You got to do that kind of stuff. But I should be probably offering key products to those distributors at that price. They click and they order, and maybe it's the scare tactics, which are real tactics. I have to hit the emotional buttons that your order is going to process faster when you do it this way. Because you know what? It's the truth.
Yeah.
If I look in my inbox any given day, I have a dozen orders that are waiting to get keyed in, and the guy who entered it online, he's off to the races.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Now I'm still going to probably pull. Yeah, I'm probably going to still pull. I'm going to pull off all those due dates, and they might not know the nightmare I go through trying to catch up in putting all those in. But if they've got a loose end in that PO that I don't find out because it sat in my inbox for 3 days, those are things you got to then follow up and go back and forth. So you want people to order online for selfish reasons because it is just so much easier and crystal clear. But honestly, that's, I think, what we have to pitch. We have to position our customers is it makes your life easier.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people, like the resellers, they're nervous that they're going to upload the art wrong and then it's not going to look right. And you know what? That can happen very easily. How often we get art that's got a background on it? How often, and I'm talking good vector art, or they, these designers go nuts with Illustrator and use so many filters and all these things that don't translate when you upload the art. Yeah. And so you want them to feel that they can attach the art, upload it, and we'll fix it for you. That's not an easy sell because they're looking at garbage on the screen and not understanding it. And on the back end, we deal with that by basically workarounds. If the designer can't understand complicated spot blends, we'll basically upload PNG files and stuff and tell the designer how many colors it is. As you know, that's pretty tricky to get in that when you have blended colors and to get an accurate color count with spot color.
True.
I don't think there's any, that right now is going to be a tough solution for customers order online. But the majority of the orders are still pretty simple. Flat colors, 3-color imprint.
Yeah, I guess, if you want to take anything away from that, your comment of really don't devalue your value, as in most people promote a value by saying, I'll give you a discount. That's not a value. That's devaluing what you're providing as a service more than the benefit.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of like begging. Yeah. Hey, we'll give you 5%, make our life easier. And that was a mistake I think we made. I mean, we got some reaction out of it, but it just was not a long-term plan. And don't ask me where the years go, but they go fast. And I'm still trying to put together a more thorough marketing plan to drive business for that wholesale business as well as TerrificT. And it's, I think obviously for the end user business, they know if they're going to TerrificT, you're placing the order online. It's almost reverse for them. You want to encourage them that if they're not comfortable online, just email me the details. I'll put it in for you.
Yeah.
And it's true because it's a different mindset, right? If you own a company, you have a logo, you go to the TerrificT or whoever's site, and you say, oh, I like that shirt, and you upload it, and you're not comfortable, you're done, you're gone, right? You got an abandoned cart. Now, the abandoned cart will capture it, and you have some kind of hope of following up, but they might not even get that far. The percentages are still low on recovering abandoned carts. At least I feel they are. Although I've gotten some great orders out of them. There's no doubt about that. You've got to follow up those abandoned carts. Which I'm going on a sidetrack. You got to build a real good automated response, which I think mine's okay, but I think I got to redesign it. Been using the same one for a few years, but we actually we'll pick up the phone and call them. By the way, the phone, most underrated marketing piece, because guess what? Nobody uses them.
Yeah, true. Yep.
Yeah.
That means you should use it. People are amazed when you call them. And if you offend them, who cares? You didn't do anything if you didn't call them.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I think for the business owner that wants to get shirts for his company or the cheerleading team or whatever, it might be a little bit of the reverse. It'd be nice to get them to feel the confidence that if they're not happy with using a designer, just email us the details or quote request and we'll put it together for you. So.
Nice. So I know MeTech, you had a question for Tommy, which I think is a pretty important one, and it'd be good to get his insights anyway into Deco Network. So do you want to lead away there?
Well, I have tons of questions. We have a little bit of the history with Tommy in the early days, and I catch up. There's this phrase when Tommy said hacks. I can obviously say that Tommy is a master of Deco Network hacks. So
yeah.
If you are looking for the workaround, Tommy has it.
That's a bad word, isn't it?
I don't know. I think it's actually good, but you really this was the perfect example. It was always a challenge. You really push the application to the maximum, even back in 2010. I think that's where the story starts. Mm-hmm. So it was all interesting. So Tommy, tell me, you're looking at Deco Network, and you said that your primary reason to start using Deco Network was the online presence, and obviously down this road, the Business Hub showed up as a tool. And two-part questions. First of all, is Business Hub the only tool that you're using right now to manage your orders? And B, what were the alternatives that you were taking into consideration before the Business Hub show up on the horizon, or even right nowadays?
Okay. Well, first, yes, we use the Hub exclusively for managing the orders. And that's it. And basically, we assign an order to either West Coast shop or the Michigan shop.
And are they set up as operators in Business Hub?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
And we have a couple secondary or outsourced companies for some stuff that we'll use, and they're set up as well. They're not getting the order. They're not our regular shop, so we have to tell them. We might email them and say you got orders, or we might actually email the order to them. But the day-to-day stuff, West Coast and Midwest, everything's done on the back end. We get everything up front. Production grabs everything from the back end. We use the overview screen for sorting by due dates and so forth. In production, you still have to assign. We do a little of both, but since I'm not managing production anymore, when it goes on press, just the days, you got to still calculate time to print the job, so you could say, okay, we could do this many jobs. That's something you cannot do with Deco, which I would like to talk about. We should do, but for instance, in the 90s, and I'm not kidding you, one of the things that enabled me to push my old company, Target Graphics, to that 3.5 million pieces was the software I wrote with an old company, software called Paradox, which is basically based off of C++, but it uses all UE objects, so it's programming light. I had to learn logic and code, but a lot of the objects had that code built in. And I built in a production schedule that would export. None of you guys probably remember a program that Fresner released in the early 90s called Screen Print Manager. It was DOS based, and it let you create a design group that got a number you gave it, and then within the design group you could add multiple designs. So in other words, kind of like what's going on here. Design group 001 might have 001A is the front, 001B is the back, and you would put in the ink colors and all that stuff. And that number would be assigned to a line item on the order entry and so forth. But that's where it was limited. The scheduling was horrendous. It was okay, but it was, in my opinion, horrendous for what I needed. So I exported that data, and I had it calculate and combine every order into one line, kind of like our overview screen. Because one of the problems, see, I don't want to look at every line item and schedule and assign every line item. That's not efficient. So I had it calculate based off of a tables we set up, you know, on average per color to set up teardown, 10 minutes of color, 500 piece rate for the auto, which is, some people shouldn't plan on that because they really don't know what 500 pieces mean, but we were good and we were able to actually truly net that with, you know, and I know people tell you they do 1,200 an hour, but that's not real production. I mean, you got to tear down, you got to clean the screen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
A big program that's, you know, you got to do 40,000 shirts in 3 days. You might find a way to do that and keep some numbers up. But my point is on average, we had tables that were dependable, and it would look that up, and then the jobs could be sorted all on one screen, kind of like the overview screen, by due date, press. You would assign a press and all these different things, and it would tell you total setup time, print time, job time, those 3 times, and calculate, and then you would move it around with just you didn't have to enter the order. You just do it right live on the screen. Like if you're looking at the overview screen right now, where the date is, you could change that date and it would automatically move in position on how you sorted. And so then you could print out that day's schedule with 8 hours of work, 10 hours of work, assign your staff accordingly, press 1, press 2, press 3. And that's how we would take that. So we still do that today, but not quite as, because I don't have that as much work. I don't have 8 presses now. Well, all the time. I'm not using all 8 presses. So we schedule, we have to take this data and then kind of assign some times to it. So to answer your question is, yes, we schedule the days and everything and keep track of it, everything in Deco, but we have to kind of look at the production time separately, either exporting the data or just writing it even on a chalkboard, you know, or a marker erase board. That would be something cool to update.
Yeah, for sure. No, we come to time. I mean, we definitely are heads in space now, so we'll be definitely picking your brain for that.
Yeah, but and then the other part of your question was, okay, so what was the thought before we knew Deco existed, Miete?
Correct, the business hub in particular. Since you didn't sign up for Deco Network to get the business hub because business hub wasn't
it didn't
on the horizon. It
was strictly to have the front end interface for someone to order online, and to be able to make a store and design a website and have the tools to do that. And then on the back end, whatever we had to do just to download that data and sort it ourselves was fine. Because at that time, that was still a big, huge step forward for us. Regardless of any shortcomings we saw, it was still better than nothing. And those shortcomings were quickly handled year by year. I mean, this system's phenomenal, and I've always felt that I'm just gonna, you know, I kind of felt it was always gonna evolve this way, and so yeah, we just that was not a thought, and I also at that time I don't believe anybody was offering anything with something to compete with the hub. Competing with you at that time either. Yeah,
I mean, there's various offline solutions and more focused on the production management side of things. But
correct.
You know what the feedback we got, which drove us in that direction, was website's great, online design is great.
Well,
my pain points are.
Brendan, and I know some of those solutions. I won't mention names, and I think a lot of them are great. Yeah. But they were around when I built my own software too, and what I didn't like about them is, and I get it, a software company has to sell product, and I think that they're bloated. And Deco has a reason to be bloated because it is everything. It is. It's the front end, it's the designs, it's the artworks, it's everything all inclusive. But if I'm just selling production software, all I want is to be easily able to look at all my orders and see how long they're going to take and schedule.
Right. Yeah.
In a glance. One screen, not click, 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 click. So you've got all the pieces right now, right there, with the exception of really assigning times and being able to schedule it out that way.
Yeah.
And I know it's a lot of work. You know, I don't say that like, okay, some guy can just fix that over a weekend. I know that's not going to happen. But so those solutions were out there, but those didn't matter to me because I already had my own homemade solution for scheduling, and I just wanted to be able to have an online presence. So.
Yeah, nice. Well, look, I mean, we can honestly sit here for a few more hours and keep going through, and you've got some wonderful stories to tell and some history in Deco, and I think we're going to have to definitely get you back and talk about some of those things, particularly things you'd like to see. That's something that we're interested in talking about, because big part of what we do, and we're trying to do it with the forums and the new group we started, is bring that feedback in. And we've already tried to make Deco be driven by our users, and it's a challenge when you've got users in so many countries, so many places, and they've all got different ideas. But in the end, we're all trying to do the one thing, and that is be better at business. So.
Yeah. I forgot one piece of history, and you can maybe bring this up next time. But our original shop, the other thing that I think I encourage every shop to have is have a loft with instruments, drums, and a keg of beer. It's always a good idea.
Absolutely.
Especially in the beginning.
When you got no time to go skiing, right? That's your casual time.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
So.
All right. Well, we've got a few more things to touch on, and Eric, we might jump over to you, and you can give us a rundown of the things you'd like to talk about.
All right. For me, usually we stop right now and just do tips or something that's in Deco Network. And honestly, I'm going to go a little outside of it, stuff we already talked about earlier. First, I wanted to go ahead and catch up with the blogs. We talked about having content that's a little outside of our help section. We do. Our blogs are actually quite useful. Right now, you're going to see that there's an announcement for 7.5 updates there, and that's awesome already. But there's also tips on how to run your business. There's tips on things that are outside of just how to run our software. It's more about processes and making you better at what you do. And the latest thing that I've got up on the blog is about customer service and responsiveness. And without saying everything that's happening in the blog, I'd like you to go over to deconetwork.com/blog to check it out yourself. What I will tell you is that there's a few tips there just to kind of let you know why it's important to be responsive and how you can be more responsive. And all I'll say about it is this. When I was a decorator for many years, there's so many times that one of the customers we would have would send over a quote request or put something together that was not fully formed, asking for some more information, or honestly would put something together even online and have an additional question or comment, something like that. And when we got back to them, we were always the people who either won the order, increased the order, got the good feedback. So especially when we're talking about blind quotes, somebody's just sending you something for quoting. It's not something they're ready to buy, but they want to find more information. Can't tell you how many times where when we were the people who answered that first day, we were either the only shop that answered or the first shop that answered. So what I want to stress to everybody is this. Being responsive can be massively key to how many deals you really close. If someone calls, if someone takes the time to email, if someone gets you up on social, you need to answer, and you need to do it all the time. So in the blog, all I tell you a little bit about is what you can do to be more responsive. First one is just to have a 5-minute habit. All I mean by that is you need to take 5 minutes. I say usually once an hour if you could. If you're somewhere where you are around a computer all the time, stop, check, make sure you don't have anything pressing. Usually it's not really going to take that much time, but jump on, answer. Even if you don't have the answer for someone, make sure you make contact. Good thing you can do with that too. Tools. We talked about autoresponders. I know Tommy talked about autoresponders with abandoned carts. It still kind of feels responsive to people. Autoresponders are great just to let them know, hey, we're listening, we care, we know you're there. So autoresponders, tools like that are also great. And also, I would just say, when you're talking about responsiveness, not only do you want to have a habit, not only do you want to make sure that you are using the tools that you can to your best effect, but you want to make sure you don't open any channels that you're not going to follow. What I mean by that is this. When we're doing this new marketing, and once again, Tommy, you were talking about marketing, talking about getting people to your website. A lot of people think, okay, I want to get more people to my website. So they just start blasting out on every social media channel. They're like, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Pinterest, I'm on Snapchat, I'm doing whatever. I'm just broadcasting everywhere. But then they don't answer replies and they don't answer questions. The worst thing you can do is open up a channel and not be present to check on it. So honestly, what I tell people, if you only have time for 5 minutes at a time, for little bits of pieces of time, cool. Find the people that you're already trying to market to, or imagine your core customer and where they're going to be. If you can just imagine it, cool. If you want to talk to people or interview them, that's good too. And make sure you're responsive and checking out your messages on that channel. Only open that channel. You can always open another channel. You can always change things up. But if you're going to be somewhere, you actually have to be somewhere. You have to be involved in that channel, whichever social media site that is. If it's email, if it's anything. I can't tell you, once again, as a customer, how many times I've gone to a shop somewhere else, some other thing outside of our industry, and sent an email off because they happen to have an email on their website and never gotten a response. That's not going to be where I place my order. So no matter what it is,
social, Eric,
just need to be responsive.
Yeah, on social, Eric, if I can add to that, I think a lot of people spend their time talking and not listening. As you said, they're broadcasting, but they're not listening back.
Well, it's not conventional advertising. It's social. Social is the point. You're there to build relationships. And now I know if you're catching in production my lower third that I'm the relationship manager, you understand why I'm going to be harshing on relationships here and telling you to make sense of them. But once again, harkening back to stuff Tommy said about how he's really doing his business, when you were talking about the business-to-business stuff, you're saying, okay, people know me. They understand me. They trust me. Well, even when you're talking about these smaller relationships, you're trying to build that trust in that, and you're trying to build that one-on-one rapport with people. They do want to trust you. They do want you to be human. Part of that is being responsive. And I know I just said use some automation. What you'll find on the blog in a little more detail, as I said, set it, but don't forget it. You need to still check up on it, and you need to give a human face to this stuff. So it is important to listen. Also, one of the great things, and I'll just go ahead and everybody who's really live on social media has heard of a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. You may love him, you may hate him. He's got an attitude and a picture of himself that's bigger than the world. But what he does do right is not only does he give value first, which is huge. You have to give value first without worrying about what's coming back. That's actually, you hook a lot of customers in that way for sure. But the other thing he does is if you are trying to market into a new area, he just goes and searches for either hashtags or keywords and just starts answering questions for people. Like say you want to find, like you want to go like race t-shirts because you're someone who's into auto racing and you want to do t-shirts or something like that for events. Go look up events, go look up merchandising for that stuff. And if someone's asking a question about a t-shirt for a place you're going to be, answer that thing proactively, put a search on Twitter and follow that. Go on Instagram and search, say you want to do a specific kind of t-shirt or garment. Like search for, I don't know, say you want to do snapback caps, search for snapback caps. And when people ask a question about it or show a piece or something like that, jump in on the comments or message these people and say, hey, I'd love to work with you. Hey, I'd love to talk about that. You can do that. You can actively market even in that listening kind of space. But no, especially, Brendan, you're totally right. People are broadcasting all the time. They're not always listening. So listen both to what your customers are saying and to what your target market is saying. Find out where they really are. But when they do contact you, when there's something you can give value.
Oh, looks like we lost Eric. Hello. Yep, you're back. We lost you
back. Where'd I drop off? I think terrible. I had a zinger right there. I had a good piece right at the end. I swear, it's the best thing I said.
Probably the part we lost, actually.
All right. Well, the last thing I said, and now I've built it up way too much. What I said was, if you're listening to your people, listening to your customer, and you find somewhere where you can add value, even if it's not necessarily a question they directly ask you, jump in there, add value, give them an answer that's going to help them, and answer it in a natural way with no jargon, and direct it to them as an audience. Answer the way they need to hear it, not the way you want to say it. And that kind of natural response is going to foster a lot of trust, and it's going to bring people back to you. So jump out there, be responsive, and especially when they are actually trying to contact you, don't let that sit in your inbox for days. You should be clearing that inbox, especially when you're talking about initial customer contacts daily. That shouldn't hang around. So be responsive, be responsible about what channels you open up, and get out there and listen. Brendan's right. He knows a lot about marketing, that one.
Alrighty, awesome tips as always, Eric. Thank you very much. MeTech was right. We always aim for half an hour, and we just never make it. But that's always a good thing. I think we always have a lot of good content and info. MeTech, do you want to add anything before we finish up, and I'll give a bit of a teaser of what's coming around the corner?
Yeah, I can do this super quick tip from my end. And this is actually an actual ticket from this week. probably yesterday or the day before. The objective was one of our clients had a problem with the fact that all of the designs. Can you see my screen? I'm just trying to confirm this.
I want that T-shirt. I'll just put that one. Just add 2 to the cart, please.
Don't let me talk about copyright, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your design, Brendan. I'm pretty sure that it was you who uploaded this design. Somehow I have a feeling it was you. I don't know why. But anyway, the objective was, obviously with Deco Network, you can have the stock designs. The stock designs is the collection of designs library that is offered to your customers, the end users. And one of our Deco Network customers asked a very valid question. I don't really want my clients to resize those images. And that was a concern. And this is one of those things when you may actually assume that it's not possible. You may feel like the only solution for that is that if this is like the bitmap, if it goes too large, it just gives the warning, etc. There are decoration processes out there where it's very important that you actually keep the fixed size for the images. That's obvious as well. But as a matter of fact, with Deco Network, you can do that. You can actually prevent your customers from resizing the images if that's not what you want them to do. So you have control over how much freedom you give them. In order to do it, all you have to do is in the admin section, just go to the stock designs, look for this design, whatever the design is. Like in this case, it's Darth Vader. It's for presentation purposes only, so we're not breaking any copyright rights here. And
what's your name? David Vandermark, not Darth Vader.
Yes. And simply click configure option. And when you do that, you will find yourself with a lot of options. And one of them is allow customers to resize this image. Just simply don't. Turn this option off, save the changes, and they will no longer be able to resize this image in the online designer. Simple, I think useful. As I said, we had the actual ticket with this question, and that was the reason why I wanted to address this today.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for that tip. Me take it was very good, my little Darth Vader dog.
My pleasure.
Star Wars fans.
Yeah, you can see behind me BB-8, a few other little things. Actually, I've got this old collection from KFC back in 1996. Still got them, and I got 2 collections. One that I opened to play with, of course, and others that I kept in a little packaging to, who knows, keep value in them, but fun.
Believe it or not, but podcast number 1, December, what was it, 2015? The very first conversation we had in this podcast was about the Star Wars.
It was.
Star Wars.
Can you not talk about Star Wars? I just don't get it.
Hey, I've got something on all of you guys. I actually went to the first movie at a movie theater.
Oh.
1976.
Wow. I was -2, and we'll leave it at that. So.
Yeah.
I got to beat by a few months, but not many.
The lines were around to the back of the building. Movies it was different then. That was like the thing to do.
Yeah. No, I've been actually in a weird kind of way. It kind of got me involved in what I'm doing today because I loved Star Wars and movie effects, and I wanted to get involved in movie effects. So I learned animation, graphic design, which led to screen printing, blah, blah, blah. One of the episodes we've already talked about this, but only maybe 2-3 years ago, I was in Sydney walking around and walking through a shopping center, and I looked across and there was Mr. Star Wars himself, George Lucas, and huge fan. And he was there with his wife and his kid, and I just couldn't go up to him because it's his holiday. You know, you don't want to. I'm sure he gets it every second of the day, but yeah, just to see him was enough. So.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So, Brendan, you are a screen printer. You have a background in screen printing.
I was a screen print designer. I very seldom got onto the squeegee myself. Funny you mentioned about the Ruby design. My first week, the company was still doing Ruby design work and sitting there cutting it out, and it was super fascinating. I mean, it truly was an art. It is an art now, but it truly was an art in itself, creating these screens. But you know, you talk about how many days to get a decent screen put together, and man,
nobody will pay you for it now.
But yeah, no, and then we transitioned literally to that week to printed film, and that was like, you know, the Rolls Royce. Life was different.
Vertical camera.
Yep.
Vertical camera. You work.
Yep.
Where nothing registered after you done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I opened the door and killed a couple of screens on my early couple of days starting off at the shop. I'm the new boy, don't open doors. So. All right, we need to move on. I want to give a quick little update on where we are, and just quick little teaser of version 8 and kind of what's happening in that space there. And I know, Tommy, you've seen a bit of this as a part of our beta and review group, but I thought it'd be kind of neat to show where we are and what's coming up soon. So, as you know, we've been strongly working on version 8, and really what's happening in that space is quite phenomenal. And just a quick update on where we are. So I'm going to browse over to websites and click on manage of my version 8 store. And this is launching the brand new page designer under website pages. And it's now completely WYSIWYG, which means you're literally seeing your website while you're designing and developing it. And I'm going to browse over and choose a page that I've been working on and testing on as a test case. And you see now it's loading on screen, and I've got my slider at the top, some content down the bottom. I've got another panel with blank widgets. I've got another panel with the marketing widget, which I've showed you in the past. And in the end, on the front end, it creates this, you know, really simple, clean, beautiful site that, of course, is, you know, completely mobile responsive. So as you scale it down, it's, you know, being dynamic and scaling as a part of your site as well, which is pretty cool. But I just want to quickly show you a new widget we're putting together and just show you how simple it is to kind of add and customize a site. Now, first of all, this in itself is a slider widget, which I've created, and I've created a couple of slides that go on top of this. But, you know, social is a big part, and Eric talked a little bit about that, and so did, you know, Tommy, about having social on your site and sharing content and sharing value. And it's a common request that we get asked for as well. So I'm going to go in and insert a new section between these two. And I'll do that by adding a widget, and I'll come down to a single one-column segment, and I'll just insert that between those two sections there, and that puts in a new empty container there. And now I'm going to go grab a widget, and I'm going to scroll down, and I might grab, where is it? Down the bottom, social. I'll grab my Instagram gallery, and I'll just drag that on and dump that widget on top of there. And the first thing it does, it wants you to come in and authenticate your account. If you're already logged in like I am, it'll just go on and do that for you and pump it onto your site. Click OK. And now the padding looks a little bit kind of full. It's not really kind of open and spaced like this one is here. So I can click into that row and click on the row settings, go to my layout, and I've got some predefined paddings, or I can just type it in here. Maybe I want it to be, I think I'm using 120 on my top and bottom is the current pattern I've been using to give that bit of white space that designers like. And then click OK and save that away. And then go back to my main site, and I think that's about done. Refresh. And there you go. I've now got my Instagram panel straight on my front end website with no widget encoding, no HTML, no CSS, no JavaScript, no Tommy hacks as he's famous for. Just a drag and click, and you're good to go. So.
Hooray!
Yay!
That's
So
pretty
yeah,
awesome.
looking awesome. We're obviously spending a lot of time on it, and the goal is to make it as simple as a drag and drop in a Deco world. And I know, Tommy, you've been playing with it a little bit, so we'll probably get you back on a future episode and get your views on where it's going.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I love it. What have you already done with it? I love it.
Yeah, we're having fun. I'm interested to see actually when you get into the rewrite of your Tommy T-shirt factory site. I think that'll be awesome. And how you go with that?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I've got those links he sent me. I just have to, you know, like find a weekend or something where I can just play around all day with it. So
no more skiing. Website design.
Well, it's summer.
I forgot, yeah, you're on the other side of the world. I forget.
Yep.
All right. Well, folks, thanks very much. Eric, Mitek, Tommy, great as always. And
Yeah.
we'll certainly get this up online as soon as we can, and we'll see you guys next on the next
I
Deco Show.
figured out why Eric's all smiling.
Why?
Because he's not a decorator anymore.
Oh, come on now. I love being a decorator. It was a good time. But what I will say, it's a good time. But what I will say, I don't miss, and you're feeling it right now. I know, like you said, I got to find a weekend. A lot of us decorators are running on that skeleton crew and doing everything ourselves. The one thing I have to say, every time I see this Deco Network, the other funny thing, the reason I'm smiling is I'm like, dang, I wish that was there last time I was building my site in Deco Network. The stuff that you're coming out with now, I'm like, I got to start another store.
Well, I told Brendan once before, I'm like, I'm just jealous of anybody who gets into this now because
too easy.
I could have had so much fun time all the time I was programming stuff.
All that hack time.
Selling something. Yeah, but I think it's it's good to have an idea how that stuff works. There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
Oh, totally. I mean, that you've got a different appreciation of the world because you've been there and you've done it manually. So you've got that extra level.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
And actually, one more thing I want to insert in this whole discussion. Tommy had some ideas that he wanted us to talk about maybe adding stuff to the site. I know Brendan said something about going to the forums, but one of the things the forums also have, go to deconetwork.com/forums. You're going to find the ideas page, and that's where you can submit ideas to vote on. And really, we do actually look at those. We are checking those out for things we're going to add to the site. So please go over to the forum, submit things on ideas, because that's what we're going to be able to know, like what people do. You can vote. If we see things, a lot of votes, it helps us kind of narrow down what you guys really need. Because, I mean, that's the best thing. Instead of us trying to go research and find out what you need, which we do, if you tell us what you need and a ton of votes come rolling in from all of our licensees, that's just a really great way to give us a signal. So by all means, go to the forums, hit the ideas page, submit your idea, or search and see if your idea is already there and vote on it.
Yeah, or email theblueman@deconetwork.com.
You better make that now. Now I have to have that address because it keeps happening.
Live before this goes live. So
the first one was the Man in Blue. Now it's the Blue Man. Now I have to have like 5 aliases. I don't know.
Both.
I'll wear a different shirt
I will
some.
do that, I promise.
I'm sorry?
I'm guilty now. I don't think I've been to the ideas page in over a year, so I will do that. I promise.
Hold you to
Your
it.
ideas are always good, Tommy. We love your ideas. Keep them coming.
All right.
Thanks again.
Well, it's 5:30 here. My idea's it's wrapped in aluminum.
Yeah. Aluminium, as we say here. But anyway, it's a different story. All right. Thanks, folks. And thanks, everyone, for tuning into the Deco Show. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Cheers.
Good night, everybody. Eric, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, too.